So this session named as Getting Linked. Most of us, there are two platforms for doing networking or, getting connected with people. One is the offline, for example, coming to forums like Y2B, meeting people from different colleges or getting interactive with other speakers. So that is one way to do, getting linked with people. The other way is to, the virtual platform, which is online. So I'm sure like most of you are on Facebook, like all of you, right? And you raise hands. How many of you are on Facebook? All of you, great. How many of you are there on Twitter? Less hands. How many of there are on LinkedIn? Quite less. Yeah. So basically all these, the topic and the broad view of this session would be how you do networking online and offline. And we have the most unconventional speaker of India, according to me, Kiruba, the best speaker you can have over this topic. So without wasting any time, I'll just pass on to him and I'll vanish. Thank you.
Thank you. There were two friends who decided to go trekking. So both of them, what they did, they packed their backpacks, stuffed it with tents, with material, food that's going to last them for the next 4 days when they're going to go trekking. And they go off into a mountain, dense forest. And in dense forest, it gets dark very early. So they pitch their tent and go off to sleep. When it's dark, one guy wakes up to a sound, to a rustling sound. The guy unzips the tent, puts his head outside, and looks. He sees pitch darkness. He looks a little closer, and he sees two shining lights. Those are eyes of a crouching tiger that is slowly crouching towards the tent. This guy begins to sweat, takes a deep breath, elbows a sleeping Fred. He said, "Machan, there's a tiger da." Both these guys scram out of the tent. Both these guys scram out of the tent and they start running. Running means tundakana, tunyakana kind of run. As he runs, and as both of them are running, one guy stops to a halt, turns back, runs into the tent, picks up his pair of Nike shoes and puts it on and continues to run. And as both these guys are running, the friend without the shoes turns around to the guy with the shoes and said, "Madaya, you think you can run faster than the tiger?" The guy with the shoes said, "Machan, no da, I want to run faster than you." Right? So, in essence, this story truly applies to each one of us. I want you to do this exercise. Can you all turn to your right and look to the guy, and to the left, and just look around? Let's do this. And this guy sitting next to the girl quickly turn back. Don't keep looking. So what, you guys are all sitting right next to each other, but trust me, when you graduate out of college and you go into the big bad world, the dog-eat-dog world of competition, which is your corporate life, the guy sitting right in your left and right is going to be your competitor. Agreed? Awesome. So what I'm going to do is, from my own experience, I've got 16 years work experience, so I'm going to distill in what are the lessons that I've learned. I'm going to put it to you in the next 30-35 minutes for you to learn. And these are lessons that I've learned from people that I admire. I'll also share with you mistakes that I did so you don't have to make them. Sounds good? Awesome. But before I start, we're going to enter into a deal. And the deal is, I will try my best not to act as a Gyan Guru. And you must accept not to pretend like you're sitting in Satyam Theatre. Does that work? Brilliant. I'm sick and tired of classrooms, and that's what we're doing, just sitting and watching somebody yap. So what we'll do for this session is that I'd love it if you guys can share your experience as I'm talking. You do not have to wait for the end of the session to raise your hands to ask questions. Feel free to put your hand up and share your thoughts. One of the books that I've authored is called Unconferences, but the byline is what kicks ass. It says, why the audience is more intelligent than the speaker. You know, the collective collaborative knowledge of each one of you, you will kick my ass. Got it? So, so feel absolutely free. If you don't agree with me, raise your hands and say I'm bullshitting. I will take that up. In fact, I'll even respect you. But I want to make sure that it's a little interactive. I first want to make sure that you guys don't sleep. So I have a few ideas, and the idea is, right? So I'm going to be walking around, and if I see anybody sleeping, right? So I'm going to keep this very, very handy with me. It's always. I have to be very careful. It has bowel problems, but we'll figure that out. But unfortunately, I can't reach this till the back, so I'm going to need your support. Can all of you take your mobile phones and show it to me? You do that, all of you? Show it out, right? For those of you guys who paid 30,000 rupees, this is a good time to show off. Yeah? That's wonderful. So, lovely phones, all of them have cameras, I see. If you find anybody sleeping or dozing off, quickly take a snap. Towards the end of the session, we will collect all those photos and show it on the screen. All right, so we will all do that. Excellent. So with that out of the way, I have like 15 points that I've listed down that I wanted to teach. Let's hope there's enough time to discuss all. The first one is called Google yourself. How many of you go to Google, type in your own name, and wait for the results? Awesome. Brilliant, right? I'm sure you had this guilty feeling that you're all ego surfing yourself. Actually, it's a damn good thing. Now, my second question, when you type in your own name, in the front page, do you get some information about yourself? If so, raise your hands. Oh, Facebook? Brilliant, right? Now, if your name doesn't come in the first 2 pages, then you have a problem. Because if you can't find yourself, there is no way others will be able to find you. In the online space, it is extremely important to be seen, to be visible. Let me give you an instance. During the break, Mr. Kalyan was sitting out here, was standing, and he was mobbed by about 40 guys around and girls, right? Did you see that? I was sitting lonely with not a single guy or girl next to me. Do you know how bad it felt? Yeah? So, number one, it's important, you may have great talents, but if you don't exhibit them, if you're not visible, if you're not seen, then you're missing out on something. And that's why I'm a firm believer that you have to have your own website. Your Facebook coming up first, great, but if you had your own website, it'll come up even quicker. It's important to be seen. And I'm a big believer that it's important to have your own website as yourname.com. For example, about 12 years ago, I booked my domain name Kiruba.com, and that is the second best decision in my life. Booking Kiruba.com, right? And I think I paid about some 1,500 rupees or something, but it's just paid back me immensely. I know what you're asking. What is my first? I married my girlfriend. That's beside the fact. So remember, do yourself a favor. It's only going to cost you about 500 rupees or so, but get yourself a domain name and have a website. Yeah, go ahead, please. No, just shout. Don't worry.
You don't get a desired domain name
Uh-huh.
for
What's your name? My name is Danish. D-A-N-E-S-H? Yes. Danish? That's awesome. No, you do too. If you don't get .com, try for .in. I have checked for .in, .org also. Okay, so you've done your search. All right, I have my own website named as yred.in. Why what? Yred. Yred. Okay. Because my surname is Reddy, so I have changed it as yred.in. Okay, so that's an example of a sucky domain name. So my request to you is, when people come and say, they didn't say hi Yred, they only say hi Danesh. So try looking for Danesh Reddy. I bet the domain name is available. Danesh Reddy is not available? Well, I can only say, sorry pal. Too bad. Awesome. So that's point number one. And when you have a website, it's important for you to put in information about yourself. You know, if you think, for example, all of us do projects. We all do colleges, right? And we do projects, and it's a well-kept secret. Your website is a great place to start explaining what the project is, to show synopsis, to put your photographs, if you've done internship in a company, you will explain that. It's almost like it is your best resume you can get. I'll give you a little example, right? I have a friend working in Infosys, and she says that on an average, they receive about 2,000 resumes every week. 2,000 resumes, it's astounding. Now imagine if the HR professionals can then read through, and everyone knows people bullshit on their resume. Right? We all do. I did. I don't know about you guys. Yeah? All of us do, right? And in a two-pager, there's only so much you can do, but a website or your LinkedIn profile or your Facebook kind of gives you a better persona about yourself, right? So, and before hiring, almost every HR person worth a salt will do background checking. They will find out who you are you friends with, what are people talking about you. You know, they will do all that. So it's important to really project yourself very, very good. And also tell you a few tips that has immensely helped me out, right? Just like how when you write articles online, and when people Google you, people are able to find you, go one step further and author a book. You heard me. Author a book. I have a bucket list. You know what a bucket list is? Things to do before I die. And one of the things to do before I die was to write a book. And I gave about 13 serious attempts to write a book and successfully, magnificently failed in each one of them. And then I met a person called Mr. S. Muttaya. If you're subscribing to the Hindu newspaper, he writes a column called Madras Miscellany, and he's 81 years old. He's authored about 18 books, and then he opened my eyes out, and he gave me some of the tips and tricks as to how you should go about writing a book. All he said was, just park your ass and write. Right? Just the simplest way to do it. But anyway, it was very inspiring. So I sat down and wrote that book, and I'll tell you what. I published 2 books so far. I go to a business meeting, I finish my initial pitch, let's say there's an initial sales pitch, so I go have this meeting, and at the end of the first meeting, I almost always take out 2 of the books and hand it over to the person and say, this is what I've written, this is for you. And you should see the change in respect visible on their face. Let me ask you this question to you. How many of you have authored your book? Raise your hands. None. Now imagine, that's 1, very nice. Imagine, that's 2, very nice. That's 2.5, no, sorry, you're combing your hair. I didn't see that. Imagine if you guys came for an interview And if that gentleman and this guy out there, as part of the interview, just gave that same book like how I gave, when they stand apart, bloody well they will, yes. And so it's an amazing way for you to stand apart. So, but it's difficult to write a book. That's why you should start small, take baby steps and write short blog posts. A blog post that are no bigger than one paragraph, that's it. Slowly start writing 3 paragraphs into articles and start posting it. And a combination of these will actually result in a book. You know, it's just astonishing. Amazon has what's called the Kindle singles. Have you heard of that? So Amazon sells books and they also sell Kindle version, but now they have launched what's called the singles, which is books that can be just 30 pages, 35 pages. It can be, and it's sold completely online. And it's free to register. How many of you know that if you write, you can sell it through Amazon? Each one of you. Awesome. But how do we ever take advantage of that? We don't. You did? Oh yeah, go ahead. Oh, okay. If you can, you're brilliant, right? I just got an example, but I just felt that it is just inappropriate for this audience. I'm going to cut that off. But I'm going to tell you that you can, but if you're smarter, you can co-author with another person, where you put the entire load on another person, just write a little and then stamp your name. So try co-authoring. This topic is about networking and the power of networking. I'm a firm believer that who you know matters more than what you know. It's the people who you know, the connections is extremely important. And in order to make those connections, you must take a piece of paper like this and write down who are the people that you would like to meet. Write down who are the people that you would like to meet. When you write that down, and start taking that a little effort to contact these people. You will notice, much to your surprise, that all the people's names that you think are really big names, you'll be surprised that they are easily available, contactable online. I'll give you an example that happened to me, a real life incident. I'll finish with the real life incident, then I'll let you speak. I run a podcast show. So my website is kiruba.com. I also have a podcast site called kiruba.tv. I'm very passionate about meeting people and interviewing them. So I was talking to this friend. I was telling him that I'd like to interview Jimmy Wales. Do you know who Jimmy Wales is? The founder of Wikipedia. And the guy laughed. No way are you going to meet Jimmy Wales. So I wrote him an email. I Googled, found out, got him through LinkedIn actually, and I sent him an invite plus I told him that, listen, I'm running the show, I'd like to interview you. In 2 hours he replies back, that sounds good, by the way, I'm visiting Chennai. Really? Awesome. So I replied back saying that, that's great, where are you staying? If you're staying in a hotel, don't. Listen, I have an extra bedroom, why don't you come and stay at my house? And he replies back, thank you so much. And he stayed at my house for 3 days. Yeah. I think the most important lesson that I've learned out of that experience is, number one, the person who's stopping us from doing things is ourselves. All you need to do is just ask. And you'll be surprised with the results. Number two, the internet is a big leveling field, huge leveling field, right? And it really helps make contact, so make use of that.